Are you active online?
Yeah.
And you also have a LinkedIn account?
Yeah.
Introducing Shutting Up on LinkedIn.
What's that?
LinkedIn was created to help people find jobs, but it's become a cesspool of humble brags and rambling about nonsense.
I'm beyond thrilled to announce that I've accepted a managing role at
Shut Up.
Most of you would have heard of LinkedIn, but a lot of you may not actually have a LinkedIn profile. I know a fair few of you are actually like at university and college, so you probably wouldn't have had to make one yet. But for those of you like me, and even older people, like my dad has a LinkedIn page and stuff like that, you would have had to use LinkedIn pretty much, unless you exclusively like use Indeed or something, to apply for jobs. It's like a crossroads between like traditional social media like Facebook and also like networking and business. So how it manifests itself is you just get so many narcissistic people like humble bragging or talking about like how amazing they are at work, and then you get people commenting on like loads of different issues, but obviously they're restrained by the fact their employer is in their bio, their employer has a LinkedIn page, and of course potential employers can see everything you post there. Like I said, this has manifested itself into a really narcissistic cult of capitalism on LinkedIn, where everyone is so fake and basically no one says their real opinion while they worship people like Bill Gates and Gary Vee. So what I thought I'd do today is we're going to look at the LinkedIn ecosystem. We're going to look at like some of the most insane posts on LinkedIn and show you like the culture that is on that social media page before we like just criticize how people use it, because some people use it as like a dating app as well. Primarily men messaging loads of women on it, trying to get lucky on a platform that is pretty much primarily for networking in a business sense. So we're going to get into all of that today. Before we go any further, I have to remind some of you, please like the video if you want to support it, maybe comment as well. If you want to follow me at social media at the Kavernacle on Twitter and on Instagram, please consider becoming a patron to support my work. I'm trying to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible, and the benefits of that are getting my Nintendo Switch friend code and also getting access to the private patrons Discord server. Also, please subscribe to my second channel, the Kavernacle Extra. So I'm going to give you like a brief summary of what LinkedIn is for people who don't know either the history of it or what it even is in the first place. But first, I want to talk about like my own experience on LinkedIn. Obviously, like many of you coming out of university, you have to make a LinkedIn page to apply for jobs. And I think I've applied for like 100 jobs on LinkedIn. After I graduated in December 2018, I spent like a whole year looking for a job. Had probably about like 10 plus interviews, got to like the latter stages of many, just didn't get a job, and I absolutely hate the job hunting process. And actually going back on LinkedIn for this video and seeing like my feed filled with potential jobs literally filled me with anxiety. I've talked about in the past how much I hated my job and how awful it was and how I'm so happy to be a full-time YouTuber. And I just like really never want to go back to that, because it's just, for me personally, I just cannot stand the 9-to-5 grind. And judging by the popularity of things like anti-work on Reddit, there are many of you who share my sentiment. Now, it can actually be good, because I did get some job interviews by just like straight up messaging people who were recruiting, and I nearly got a job that paid like so much better than my current role, doing basically the same thing by just doing that. So LinkedIn does have its benefits, but it also has become a place that is just generally pretty psychotic as well. So before we get into like the insane posts on LinkedIn, I didn't actually know how LinkedIn was created, and I wanted to talk about the founder quick to give you an insight to what kind of guy this is. So how was LinkedIn developed? By Giselle Labbe. It has almost been 2 decades since the most well-known business-related social network, LinkedIn, was founded. Today has expanded to nearly 450 million members and $6.8 billion in annual revenue. So it was established by Reid Hoffman primarily, and I'm going to talk about him, so I'm not going to mention the other people. In 2002, LinkedIn has changed the way we find jobs and establish professional connections, creating new opportunities for people. Therefore, the story behind how it was made deserves to be told from the beginning. It was created in 2002 in the living room of Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn. According to him, they built it because we're here to build a business, not to create something cool. MySpace and Facebook have done really well, and I think they can monetize what they have built, probably by adding in more e-commerce, but I think the opportunity on the business side is ultimately larger. Finally, in 2003, it was launched to the public. Reed has many multiple startup experiences. He was a board member of Google, eBay, and PayPal. The main goal of creating LinkedIn is to build connections in a professional world. And in the first month of their operation, they gained 4,500 members. And this is despite the very basic first LinkedIn web design. In 2005, LinkedIn started to level up their service. They launched jobs and subscription fee options. By then, the number of users had increased to 3.3 million at the beginning of the year. By 2016, Microsoft acquired a large share of LinkedIn at a value of $26 billion, putting LinkedIn as one of the largest acquisitions made by Microsoft. So talking about Reid Hoffman quickly, probably not surprising, like this massive venture capitalist is also someone who simps for Bitcoin, and this is extremely cringe. Jason Kobler at Vice reporting, billionaire LinkedIn founder thinks Bitcoin rap battle will heal divided nation. Reid Hoffman just funded and produced a parody rap battle featuring a music video between founding father Alexander Hamilton and the Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto. With the video, Hoffman becomes the latest billionaire to promote cryptocurrency of musical numbers. This video pits Hamilton, credited with pushing the US to adopt the central bank, against Nakamoto, who created Bitcoin. These types of parodies are common in the cryptocurrency world. Bad Bitcoin rap has become its own genre on YouTube. Bitcoin rap battle debate Hamilton versus Satoshi is notable only in that it was funded by a billionaire and promoted by him and his friends. Watch about Bitcoin, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt enthusiastically tweeted, ha ha ha. Aston Kutcher, who definitely watched the video, tweeted, Hoffman does not star in the video but is credited as a writer and the executive producer. Hoffman said he believes battle rap is a rhetorical device that will break through in these troubled, polarizing times and will help us settle some of society's most pressing beefs, such as whether Bitcoin is good or bad. Like thousands of others who've seen Hamilton, I was delighted and amazed by Hamilton musical creator Lin-Manuel Miranda's musical vision and talent, and I was particularly struck by his two cabinet battle songs and the way he used battle rap to express the opposing viewpoints that informed the issues and debates underlying fundamental moments in America's development, Hoffman wrote on LinkedIn. Since then, I've been intrigued by the idea of using battle rap to explore some of the most polarizing issues that characterize our own era. Hoffman said that when he watched Hamilton, he realized that rap battles are a form of discourse where extremely attentive listening routinely occurs. These days, however, the debate often consists of little more than ad hominem attacks, synchronized shouting, and reflexive efforts to abort any competing perspective with charges of, as our factually allergic president puts it, fake news. There's lots of noise but very little listening. So I guess he's like a liberal billionaire if he like hates Donald Trump, but a massive red flag for anyone is someone who likes Hamilton. Someone who likes Harry Potter, Hamilton, things like that, and like base their worldview on these things, because it's like peak liberalism. It's like things like Nancy Pelosi thinks is like a good idea to use in politics. The same with this guy thinking it's a good idea to use to promote Bitcoin. Like, does it get any worse? Bitcoin rap's inspired by the musical Hamilton. Literally like the worst thing in history. The only thing that can make it worse as if somehow like J.K. Rowling also wrote it or something. But this is the type of guy who founded LinkedIn, and of course like it's gone on to be wildly successful because so many people in Western countries are absolute massive simps for capitalism and corporatism. Now, you guys might wonder, how do I use my LinkedIn these days? Like, I'm a YouTuber now, I'm not applying for jobs, I'm not accepting offers for jobs if anyone ever made me an offer, and I'm not really talking to recruiters. I haven't really been on LinkedIn much lately, but I thought I'd have some fun when I checked my messages when I went on it. So a recruiter messaged me. I wanted to get in touch to find out if you were interested in hearing new opportunities. We are currently looking for an assistant editor YouTube for the Mail Online. Because you guys know me, I'd love to work at the Daily Mail. And I wondered if this could be something of interest. Have a read through the online ad and let me know if you're interested in hearing more. And I just replied, I will direct you to my About section on my profile. Cheers. And my About section has, go work your cringe 9 to 5. I'll be gaming. I do really love this meme, and I do love saying it to my friends who do work traditional 9 to 5s, but honestly, I really do not have time for much video games. The only time I play video games is probably like a Saturday night late or a Sunday night late, because I'm literally doing YouTube work all the time in the week. I work way harder at my YouTube than I ever did at my full-time job. I'd say it's way more than 40 hours. But I do like saying that because a lot of people do not consider YouTube like a real job. They don't actually think it takes much effort or much time. So I always do like trolling people with this because I might as well play into the stereotype that YouTube is just like very, very easy, casual job where you can make a lot of money for essentially just playing video games and stuff. Now we're going to delve into the insanity of LinkedIn, and I think nothing highlights the contrast between LinkedIn and Twitter and other social medias than what happened with Stephen Bartlett's podcast, where he interviewed Love Island star and Tommy Fury's like girlfriend Molly May, who said that infamous clip that, like, you know, everyone has the same 24 hours, essentially saying, like, if you do not make the most of it in this hustle culture world, that's a you problem. It's totally on you. If you can't make a massive success of yourself from going on Love Island at like 19 years old and essentially becoming famous for being very good looking and partnering up with the brother of one of the best boxers of our generation who's world famous, then that's, you know, totally you problem. We can't all do that, obviously. We're not all as great as Molly May.
That we do. And I just think, like, you're given one life and it's down to you what you do with it. Like, you can literally go in any direction. And when I've spoken about that before in the past, I have been slammed a little bit with people saying, you know, like, it's easy for you to say that, you know, you've grown up and you've not grown up in poverty, you've not grown up, you know, with major money struggles. So for you to sit there and say that we all have the same 24 hours in a day is not correct. And I'm like, but technically what I'm saying is correct. We do. So I understand that obviously we all have different backgrounds and we're all raised in different ways and we do have different financial situations. But I think if you want something enough, you can achieve it. And it just depends to what lengths you want to go to get where you want to be in the future. And I'll go to any lengths. Like, I've worked my absolute arse off to get where I am now.
Now, this Stephen Bartlett tried to go woke. Also, a reminder, this guy has Jordan Peterson, like, pinned on his Twitter profile, talking about it being the most amazing, you know, interviews ever done. And he tried to basically blame the backlash against Molly May's comments on everyone just hating women, I guess. So let's take a look at the different reactions to what he said on Twitter and on LinkedIn. So Stephen Bartlett wrote basically the same thing on Twitter and LinkedIn, and there's a very big contrast in how people responded. So Molly May did an interview on my podcast. Yesterday, a soundbite from that interview went viral. She trended #1 on Twitter. Every newspaper covered it and MPs weighed in. I've had many male guests say what she said. No one cared, but when Molly May says it, she's crucified, crazy. I've become very aware of the double standard that successful women face. If I interview a man, he can brag about money, take full credit for his success, and talk about his cars. If I interview a successful woman, to tiptoe around his success and watch her words. Gender issues aside, the standards we hold Molly May to as a 22-year-old that's figuring out the world is outrageous. She once said she didn't like Italian food. It trended #1 all day, was written about in every newspaper, and she had to issue a public apology. 22. I replied, you care so much about women, this is your pinned tweet. Get lost, mate. Just him tweeting about Jordan Peterson has changed millions of lives, including mine. This is one of the most important and moving, honest conversations I've ever had in this podcast. Someone else agreed with me. Your pinned tweet is a Jordan Peterson interview, and you're seriously trying to use identity politics to distract from a national conversation about the class struggle. Someone else saying, I don't expect you to contribute to this critique of your guest, but sorry, this is just so dishonest. You know exactly why she was criticized. You know she's most likely more prominent on social media than other guests, and you yourself said she was highly requested. You raised the point of privilege with Grace Beverly, but didn't challenge Molly May. Nobody's expecting a 22-year-old to have it figured out, but it was a shame her comments on everyone can have success if they work hard enough weren't at least explored further. Mooncat tweeting, everyone should go subscribe to Mooncat, watch her Camp Rock video. This isn't anything to do with misogyny. I'm mainly disappointed that women idolize people like her. I watched the podcast. Her first goal was £1 million in her bank account. Then she made it. What was her next goal? 2 million. Then it was bigger house and bigger stuff. And then this tweet sums it up. This might have worked on LinkedIn, not over here, buddy. And it actually did work on LinkedIn. So when he initially posted the podcast, people were like, excellent discussion. Really enjoyed it. Brilliant episode. Look forward to this dropping. Really inspiring and thought-provoking. Great discussion. And then he posted the same response he did on Twitter. And look at the comments here to what he said, basically blaming everyone's outrage against Molly May based on the fact she's a woman. Never a truer word. I am glad someone with your reach and scale has written what a lot of people are thinking, but are too afraid to say. Break the bias. This is very relevant to the theme of this year's International Women's Day. Break the bias. A man can talk about success and is seen as assertive, confident, possessing leadership qualities. A woman talks about success in similar terms and is perceived as arrogant, privileged, and tone deaf. Molly even apologized if what she has said has upset or offended anyone, probably like the same apology Kim Kardashian gave, where she just said sorry if you're offended, not that she was actually sorry for what she said. And that is why I surround myself with successful women, whatever that means to them, and I'm always addressing my money stories, which have been formed societally and generationally. It's about exposure. The more you see it, the more it's discussed, the more it becomes familiar, and the less triggered we are by it. Thank you for posting this because it reminded me that even the most progressive people are still not so aware of this incredulous double standard. In my online world, it's now becoming my norm, yet I recognize it's still very much a safety behind closed doors conversation in the grand scheme of things. Stephen, please keep raising the profile of this. Thank you. I completely agree with your observations and comments. It's a shame we live in such an opinionated world where social media allows individuals to be faceless and vile to other people. Well done for speaking out about this. It's despicable how she's being treated. So as someone who really does not have a problem with identity politics in the slightest, and I've actually criticized people like Carl Kalinske and other leftists for being like more class reductionist and not really taking identity politics into account. Something Carl said on one of his videos was about like corporate identity politics, and I think that's like a very good like show of what this is, where people will pay lip service to supposed progressive politics in so much as, oh, if a woman gets attacked online, that's clearly because she's just a woman, not that she has said something at a time of like mass poverty and horrendously declining living standards in the country she's from, while she talks about how everyone has the same 24 hours. It couldn't be that. It must be motivated by everyone not liking women, even though loads of women are actually criticizing her for what she said, because what she said was completely tone deaf. But these people like to use this stuff when it suits them, talk about progressive politics. Progressive politics are like at least reforming capitalism for some liberal progressives, and for other progressives like me and people who are leftists, it's about ending capitalism. So of course we're going to have a problem with what Molly May says, and at the same time we talk about like ending patriarchy and all the good like progressive causes to do with women, we can still criticize people who are totally out of touch. But that is just a good contrast for you of how people reacted on Twitter versus LinkedIn. And of course LinkedIn is full of these sycophants for corporate culture and capitalism, but also people who will say this stuff, I guess, I don't know, to virtue signal because they want to look better in front of potential employers, or they think they have to say these things and they don't actually believe them. And you're going to see a lot of this. And also another thing that you're going to see through some of these comments, people just use the comments of popular creators to just promote themselves. And although social media at large is heavy with this, if you tweet something, and you know, I tweet all the time, most of my replies are not people promoting their own profiles and promoting their businesses or promoting their other YouTube channels or Twitter pages. It's just them responding to what I've said pretty directly. While you'll see on LinkedIn, most people never respond to what is being said. They just write something long to promote themselves. And that's what it's playing into the whole complete narcissism of corporate capitalist culture. So I thought I'd start my research by looking at my favorite venture capitalist, Gary V, and he has 5 million follows on his LinkedIn page, and he posts a lot of generic stuff that people love. Here he writes a day ago, entrepreneurship is not so much a job as it is a skill. There are plenty of entrepreneurs that do not necessarily run a business but apply the same skill set to their life and work that traditional entrepreneurs use. What that skill set really comes down to is the ability to listen. Listening is such a fundamental part of being an entrepreneur because it allows you to adapt and innovate based on what the market wants. This goes for not just business, but also music, movies, and culture as a whole. Posting a meme of himself saying, being a great entrepreneur is about listening to the world. So only 7,000 likes, 300 comments saying silence speaks volumes. And then you just get like bizarre stuff like this. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. 80% of what God gave us is meant to absorb information. 20% to hand it out and eat and breathe. Nature has provided us with the ratios we need to be successful. It's up to us to make sure we use them properly. Pay attention to those you are serving. Help them become successful. From this, you will learn how to create more value, well beyond what you started out doing. This is how we grow. So clearly with stuff like this, I'm sure this guy posts this on like loads of famous entrepreneur accounts. It's not even really engaging with what Gary Vee said. And again, plays into the whole narcissism. These guys use all these popular things just to promote their own businesses. Someone else saying, after meeting Gary in 2019, I started editing podcasts and getting paid to listen. People pay me to edit and listen to podcasts I spent time preparing and setting up. My advice is this: when you're starting out, find an opportunity to listen to people who are doing what you want to be doing. You will develop the timeless skill Gary is describing, and you'll work on that skill until you can listen more effectively. Gary posting some more ridiculous stuff. No amount of marketing is going to sell a bad product. That is just a total lie. There's so many cons and scams out there. Look at the popularities of NFTs, which Gary Vee himself promotes. Gary Vee also saying, if you make a commitment to give them 51% of the value in a relationship, you will win. It's just a smart thing to do, both in business and in life. When you give a lot, you build a lot of emotional capital. You grow your reputation significantly, and the people you impacted will eventually come back and impact you. So these guys view like the whole of human interaction as a transaction. Who the hell talks about emotional capital, like it's something you can grow, like real capital, something that you should be cultivating. Obviously, like narcissistic people like Gary Vee don't actually really do this. It's just something to post on LinkedIn to seem popular. Then people post more stuff like this. Kindness costs nothing. I have told my 2 sons that the only life lesson I can really give them is that if you give more than you take, you will always have more than enough. And most others, people love givers, and one of those types is given is simple smiles and kindness. Even if you don't like someone and have adverse thoughts, why hurt them? Build them. Focus on the thought that no one has ill intent. So talking about the self-promotion of other people's comments, so someone starts the post saying, "Couldn't agree more, Gary Vee, and I appreciate how much you share this message in your podcast. Just today, I was in a LinkedIn audio room about neurodevelopment and parenting, and I shared about my son's severe anxiety. Although I was asking a question and seeking guidance from the experts, I was aware that by being very open and transparent about my child's challenges, I would be helping others in the room. Sure enough, the next person who spoke said, 'Oh my God, I thought I was alone. My kid is going through the same thing,' and thanked me for sharing my experience. Being vulnerable and willing to share our personal and professional experiences and knowledge is so important. Thanks, Gary, for all you do." What does Gary Vee do? Just promote constant scams and NFT pump and dumps with Mr. Beast and Logan Paul. But here you see this person just wanted to take a chance to post about themselves. It's not really relevant to the conversation. She just wants to talk about how great she is. So obviously Bill Gates is another one. I'm not really going to spend too much time on him. He's like the good billionaire, supposedly, to a lot of people on LinkedIn. But then he writes, "Reason for optimism after a difficult year. Very difficult for you, Bill, I'm sure, being one of the wealthiest men of all time in human history. I've never been a big New Year's resolution person, but there are 4 things that are at the top of my mind heading into 2022. So I'm replying, "Thank you for sharing. I'm amazed by your positive attitude, despite all the hate you encounter, despite your and your foundation's endeavors to make life better for a lot of people. Declining trust in institutions and spreading of misinformation will make tackling the real challenges for 2022 and even beyond harder. I hope we will find a way to reconcile the polarized groups. That's my wish for 2022. And regarding social media, I am appalled at the hatred and so often. Everyone be kind to each other." That's actually a human behind the profile that sends a post. Great advice, Dorothy. I'm going to take that on board for sure. Now, of course, because LinkedIn is such an insane place, there are multiple social media pages making fun of this stuff. The best ones are probably LinkedIn Lunatics on Reddit and the best of LinkedIn on Twitter. So I'm just going to read some posts for you here. And then you're going to feel very crazy afterwards, I'm sure. So I stopped at a Starbucks this morning and it was a 20-minute wait with a line of cars behind me. Still, I made a joke with the drive-thru lady saying, "Well, you guys aren't very busy. It's like having the day off, I bet." We shared a small laugh and a smile, and I proceeded with my tall iced coffee order. When I finally made it to the window, she handed me my drink and said, "Everyone has been so crabby today, and you seem like such a nice guy and made me laugh, so I made you a grande because I felt like it. Oh, by the way, here is a free pumpkin loaf on me as well." I thanked her and told her that people just need to chill sometimes, which is the exact advice I received recently from a person I consider a mentor of mine. Michael Jordan said that every game there was someone that had never seen him play before, so he owed it to that to give it his all in every second of every game. The reason I'm sharing this because I will probably never see this woman again, just like Michael Jordan will never meet that kid that never saw him play. But the interactions you have and the way you carry yourself at work, the gym, the restaurant, at home can impact someone's day in a way that you never imagined. Whatever you do, do it with a smile on your face and with positive intent. So this guy is comparing himself to Michael Jordan, setting high standards for the thing that he became world famous for. And he's also making up some story about some lady going out of his way to give him free stuff at Starbucks, which definitely did not happen in the US. Considering how poor labor laws are, I would advise no one to give away stuff for free just because a guy is being nice to you. He's already paying you, so you owe him nothing. I'm sure this didn't happen at all. Again, narcissism, promoting himself. Suddenly, he's like Michael Jordan because he was nice to someone at Starbucks. Hate to break it to you, Justin, being nice to people who serve you food and drink, although isn't common, is something everyone should have the common courtesy to do. More stuff like this. From the past 10 years, I've stopped at the chapel of every hospital I sell to. I take the time to pray for the patients of the hospital, their families, and doctors that protect them. Don't pass by the chapel on your next sales call. It's probably the most important call point of them all. I'm really happy for you, Jonathan. Thanks for shoving your faith on LinkedIn. I told a group of college kids the other day, if you're going to do college and not LinkedIn, quit college and do LinkedIn. But you're in school, so you need to do both. Bold statement, I know, but it blows my mind that there are kids going to college and not taking advantage of LinkedIn. I can attribute almost everything great about my career to this platform. The relationships are priceless. If you're in college right now, please do not listen to this guy. If you drop out and get on LinkedIn, most people are not going to hire you, especially if you don't have job experience, because at this point in the corporate world, you need some sort of degree as a bare minimum. LinkedIn and messaging randos on LinkedIn is not going to replace a formal certificate of your education. Jen, a director of development at somewhere, it was midday McDonald's Diet Coke run, and I was paying my $1.06, and I asked the young man how his day was going. How nice of you to ask. People don't usually ask me that. I'm just a McDonald's employee, he answered. Garbage, I replied. You single-handedly interact with hundreds of people every day and have the ability to influence their entire day with a smile and a kind word. You have immense opportunity to change the world, one person at a time. He was speechless and then grinned. But really, friends, there are no just jobs. Every employee, every position, and every single interaction matters. You matter. Again, lots of narcissism, telling how she gave a pep talk to some random guy at McDonald's who probably absolutely hated her guts, because if I went to McDonald's, I'd hate this woman's guts. Leave service workers alone, don't try and become their best friends, and certainly don't condescendingly tell them that their job is the most important thing in the world, while they're getting paid $7 an hour to serve people like you. Jeremy, top 250 UK IT leader, says, "This is me at one of my lowest points." Yes, you read that right. By the time I'd taken this photo, I'd been picked up by a chauffeur from home, driven to a private drop-off point at Heathrow, had my bag collected and checked in through the private security line off the lounge. Sounds nice. At the lounge, I had table service for coffee, champagne, and awesome food. That sounds very nice. Getting on the plane, bound for LA, through the fast track, I was offered a glass of champagne. I thought I'd take this picture of Facebook to show how successful I am. However, I remember this photo, as it was soon after this, I texted my wife to say, I can't go on like this. Now, it's not as bad as it sounds. I wasn't going to do something silly at 38,000 foot, but I needed help. I was in a dark place of anxiety and didn't want to leave the house. I was self-medicating to try and avoid my anxiety, and I was drinking too much to numb the pain. Well, so why am I telling you this? You don't know what's going on behind the facade, so cut people some slack and be kind to everyone. If you feel like this, you're not alone, as many other people feel the same way. Just because you're successful at work, you cannot ignore every other area of your life. I struggled with all of the above, but number 3 is huge. I got myself into a position where I couldn't slow down. I couldn't take my foot off the gas. People needed me. They depended on me. However, with assistance, you can transform your life. So if you're struggling, let me know and we can have a chat. You don't have to struggle alone, and it doesn't need to go on any longer. Isn't that one of the most ridiculous posts you've ever seen in your life? Even for LinkedIn standards. Here is a guy who is insanely wealthy, has all the perks of being wealthy, and he brags about his wealth only to make the point that everyone can be suffering through mental health and stuff. And while that's commendable, you could make the point that, like, generally, you know, I seem like a successful, wealthy guy, but even that doesn't fulfill me, and the hollowness of capitalism actually gives me a lot of mental health problems, and I don't actually like my life that much. You can make that point without talking about how great your life is to start with, because I'm sure there's lots of people, like the McDonald's or Starbucks workers that we've been talking about here, who have all these mental health problems, largely caused by their bosses being awful to them a lot of the time, and they don't have the comfort of going to private parts of Heathrow and getting champagne and coffee and everything. So more humble braggins from Brandon. Drop me a thumbs up if anyone ever doubted you. I remember when my teachers in grade school gave me a hard time about being ADD. 3 #1 global bestsellers and a company worth $500 million a few decades later. Don't let anyone tell you can't do something. Grateful I get to share with you everything I learn along the journey to help you maximize your success. Pick up a copy of one of these bestsellers on Amazon today. Oh, so just like a very, very humble brag from Brandon here, and then promoting his own book. What a lovely guy. Not a complete narcissist right there. Then you just get absolutely weird stuff. Like, why is anyone posting this on LinkedIn? This isn't your, like, soccer mum Instagram. This week I did a really weird reboot goat milk cleanse. It was meant to last 8 days, and I massively broke down last night and ate what tasted like the best salmon of my life. The point of this story is to say that I am human and it's okay to break down. Today I got back up and put my 100% human sweatshirt on as a reminder. Have a good weekend, be yourself and vulnerable. Okay, this post is cringe, but like I said, I don't really have much of a problem with it if it's on your Facebook page for your best pal soccer mums or your Instagram page about fitness. Why the hell are you posting your goat milk cleanse on LinkedIn?
Hey everyone, it's future Kavernacle here. Basically, I was recording my video yesterday and I actually finished it. But then there was some like absolutely insane construction going on. I might have actually mentioned it in an earlier part of the video, but looking back on it, it's just so annoying. And then right now it's actually pouring with rain. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but obviously rain as a background noise is a lot less intrusive than construction. So I'm just going to pick it up where I left off today. And maybe you can actually hear the construction because it seems to be following me everywhere. I'm just going to power through this one because I'm going to give a second take. We'll see which one sounds better. But we're just going to pick it up from where we left off. So Kristen's saying, I have never felt more proud and more incompetent at the same time. As my 8.5-year-old Lucy and I were discussing life this morning over our gluten-free, farm-raised, organic, non-GMO, grass-fed cereal. Kidding, we were having Golden Grahams. America, it's Grahams, not grams, as you guys like to say that. So she's clearly self-aware enough about these kinds of posts, but then she goes on to say this. She says to me, Mum, I've been thinking, you know how Starbucks has never had to advertise? Starbucks has never had to advertise? That's new to me. And they purposely have employees spell names wrong to post on social media. I think a lot more companies could be doing more on TikTok. It's cheaper. And what kid isn't on TikTok? I hope not everyone's 8-year-olds on TikTok. I don't know, really. I sat in silence for a solid 2 minutes. Am I awake? Am I raising Richard Branson? Why didn't I think like this at 8.5 years old? I need to Google this Starbucks thing. What am I going to wear today? Is it Tuesday? Sitting in silence for 2 minutes is actually really long. That is just really, really awkward. Imagine that kid just looking at her mum, thinking like, what do you think of my TikTok idea? Yes, Lucy, I've been thinking the same thing. Just go with it. Good, Mum. I also think that Gecko commercial where the little pig yells "we" the whole way home is not just funny, but brilliant. Wow, I can't wait to see what this generation does. The sky's not the limit anymore. I was eating paste at 8 and I'm still happy when I find 2 matching socks. So like I said, lots of narcissism there in terms of just absolutely making stuff up. 8-year-olds do not talk like that. 8-year-olds do not talk about Starbucks advertising. This woman actually just made it up and thought it'd be a funny story to tell everyone. Again, just talking about like how amazing her kid is. Is she raising the next Richard Branson? She must be such a wonderful mother. Again, really, really stupid. Reminds me of so much stuff I generally see on LinkedIn. There's some funny TikToks making fun of this stuff. I'm just going to play you a couple to show you how widespread this kind of thing is and how everyone knows that everyone on LinkedIn just absolutely loves to make anything up.
LinkedIn was created to help people find jobs, but it's become a cesspool of humble brags and rambling about nonsense.
I'm beyond thrilled to announce that I've accepted a managing role at...
Shut up.
NFTs are the future, and my class will teach you how...
Shut up.
For God's sake, I need a new job.
You can stay.
Last night I was going to post a 3-paragraph post on LinkedIn, but then I remembered, just shut up. So I did, and I feel great. And nobody's mad at me either. Well, they are. That's for something else.
Now, there's also a subreddit called LinkedIn Lunatics. I'm not going to dwell on this for too long, but there's some funny posts here as well. So, someone posting, I love Saturdays. 4:30 a.m. wake up, 4:35 to 6 a.m. reflect on what I've read, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. cook breakfast, not in that order, quick scroll social media, I know it's too early. 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. be still, review goals for the day. 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. get dressed. 9 a.m. tea time. No, it's okay to be and not be disciplined on the weekend, but you're getting up at 4:30 a.m. Take the time you need to rest and recharge. Enjoy yourself and your family. But I do encourage you to do one thing that makes you smile. Swinging my golf clubs happens to be mine. What a relaxing Saturday, getting up at 4:30 a.m. I'm sure a lot of you, like myself, stay up really late on a Saturday to make up for all the time you lose in the week, especially when I used to work full time. On a Friday night, I'm probably staying up till 6:30 a.m. when I used to work, unless I had a football match the next day. Definitely staying up that late on a Saturday. Who the hell wants to get up at 4:30 on a weekend? This guy must be getting up at 2 a.m. on the weekdays. Now, this is probably my favorite insane post I've seen on LinkedIn. Thankfully, maybe proves not every single person is an absolute madman and Elon Musk simp. So Ivan posting, $1 million can buy a lot of things, but it can't buy you happiness. So why not spend your 24 hours of Elon? What would you choose? Many people would choose to spend time with Elon Musk over $1 million. Are you sure about that? Me included. Think about the long-term benefits. Elon is a fascinating person to talk to. I don't know where he gets this reputation. Elon Musk literally tweets like a 14-year-old Redditor, and he's like 52 years old. Is there anything more sad than being the richest man in the world, being one of the most powerful men in the world, and you still want people to like you because you were probably bullied in college and school, and you're posting these memes that literally, like I said, 4chaners and Redditors come up with to try and stay relevant. Anyway, he is always innovating and coming up with new ideas. He is also very passionate about his work. Spending time with him would be an interesting and informative experience, a game changer. He also may give you some advice that could benefit you in the future, or to invest in your business ideas. Who knows, but it's worth a try. Although $1 million is a lot of money, most people would choose to spend time with Elon. What do you think? And he ran a poll. So thankfully, 91% of voters chose the $1 million, and only 9% of LinkedIn voters chose 24 hours with Elon, and that's got 14.6k votes. Now, this guy is obviously like completely out of touch, especially with the economic situation Western countries are finding themselves in at the moment, and poverty, living standards are all rapidly declining. Of course, most people would choose $1 million over talking to Elon Musk for 24 hours. I don't even think you could pay me $1 million to talk to Elon Musk for 24 hours, let alone me actually take that conversation over actually getting paid $1 million. These people are totally insane. And like I said, lots and lots of narcissism. And I just want to transition quickly to a BBC Work Life article called How Narcissists Climb the Career Ladder Quickly, to kind of show you why there are so many narcissists on LinkedIn, and it seems to be like a narcissist competition. A new paper by Italian researchers attempts to close the gap in our knowledge, and it has some serious implications for the ways that companies select and reward their employees. There are many good reasons for suspecting that narcissists might get ahead more quickly than their colleagues without the humility that would prevent others from tooting their own horn. Narcissists may be especially good at self-promotion, ensuring that their contributions are recognized, even if they do not deserve to be held in such high esteem. Overall, this new paper found that someone with a high degree of narcissism was around 29% faster in their career progression to the position of a CEO compared to the average candidate of similar qualifications. Sadly, for all the hard-working but humble workers out there, it seems that narcissists' constant self-promotion really does pay off in the long term. So I think that really just says it all, and is indicative of this corporate capitalist culture, in that being a narcissist, being a horrible person, literally trampling on all the other workers competing with you in this, obviously a horrible capitalist system, is actually a very, very good thing to succeed. And no wonder so many CEOs of all these horrible corporations are absolute vile people who constantly take the exploitation inherent in capitalism up to another level and purposely decide to try and make all their employees' lives miserable. And also, this is indicative of like the male-dominated field as well. So then it's probably not surprising that a lot of these corporate people who, are narcissists also like to use LinkedIn as their own personal Tinder. So dear men, please stop using LinkedIn to hit on women by Vice. So Nikki Rodriguez, a PR executive from Essex, says her ex-partner knew everything about her before they met. He'd looked into her professional networks before they were introduced by a mutual friend, then spent their relationship punishing her for not living up to what he'd seen online. Men prefer to trawl through networking sites as it gives them more of an insight into your life than on a dating app. Women need to be clued up on how dangerous this can be. Female freelancers can feel especially exposed when trying to grow their own businesses. It's not uncommon for women to turn up for a job interview or a casual networking date, only to realize that on a romantic one. I've had a few marriage proposals on LinkedIn. I even went on a date from it. Irish travel and motoring journalist Melanie May says, I think men are using it to approach women because they can learn a lot about you for free and there's less competition than on dating sites. When asked about safeguarding women on their platform, a spokesperson for LinkedIn commented and said, we will permanently restrict members that abuse our policies. When a member reports a message or conversation, we investigate and take appropriate action. So thanks for sticking with the video. I don't know if you'll be hearing me right now or the clip I recorded earlier, but if you're hearing me right now, I'm just going to go over what I said. LinkedIn is essentially this social media that exists to be this cult of corporate capitalism, where everyone is completely phony because they're actually trying to use a social media platform to either elevate their own status in their own business and company, or they're trying to actually appeal to other companies and get them to hire them. So it's all about more than normal clout chasing for your own business success, rather than, usual social media, which is often just like clout chasing for clout's sake. And a lot of people just use social media as a way to vent, as a way to interact with people. I know the way I use it is I just like to talk to people and make like funny jokes and just tweet my serious opinions. I'm not obviously really using it to get people onto YouTube. I don't know how many people found me on Twitter and came to YouTube. I bet it's a very, very small percentage. I just like using it for fun. Whereas on LinkedIn, some of these insane people like to use it for fun, but obviously a lot of these people just make stuff up because it's all about your personal brand, even more than on traditional social media. And you see all the comments on posts like Gary V's and things like that, where they don't even engage with what Gary Vee is even saying, even though it's nonsense. They're just trying to promote themselves and their own brand. So LinkedIn is just like this absolute hell site. It has all the worst elements of traditional social media, really without any redeeming qualities. And I don't know who are these people who like to use it as like their own personal Facebook and think it's a great place to be? They probably like it as a great place to be, like that Stephen Bartlett guy. It's because people aren't going to criticize him. People are just going to blow smoke up his ass like they wouldn't do on Twitter, as you saw the disparity between the Twitter replies to him trying to say that stuff about Molly May compared to the LinkedIn one. But I think it's just obviously like indicative of our corporate capitalist culture, where this narcissism, which we've shown with the study, is actually key to getting ahead, and it actually probably pays to use LinkedIn in this way. And yes, LinkedIn does have some good use for jobs. I've had some good interviews from directly messaging people on LinkedIn, so that is a good feature. But people have said that LinkedIn used to be good for business, and now it has morphed into something very, very different, where it's all about your own self-promotion and making up these very weird stories, talking about how you would have a conversation with Elon Musk rather than $1 million, being absolute simps for Bill Gates and other people like this. And, you know, I've made videos about hustle culture in the past, how toxic it is, and I feel like despite us, a lot of us, realizing how rigged the system is a lot more than usual, and realizing how capitalism is destroying the planet, it seems to be on the other end of the scale, there's been more people buying into this cult of corporatism because of people like Elon Musk, who I guess are good at marketing themselves to be more normal despite being very weird and this just out of touch billionaire. And this gets a lot of people just very excited about business in general. And this kind of like rise and grind hustle culture mindset has also played into this stuff, where it's about like having your side hustle and working on your side hustle to one day possibly be very, very successful. But overall, yeah, LinkedIn is very, very cringe. I'm hoping I can just do YouTube for the rest of my life or something like this, so I never have to go back on LinkedIn and start messaging all these awful people, and I just really never have to use LinkedIn again, because like I said, even looking through all those posts and those job applications just like filled me with anxiety and gave me really horrible memories of using that site for ages when I was applying for jobs just out of university. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Thanks for sticking with this video despite some of the sound issues. Follow me on social media at the Kavernacle on Twitter. No, you can't follow me on LinkedIn. Also check out my Patreon if you want to support my work. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.